Hello, welcome to my studio. I am Lesley Ann Robinson of Knit Graffiti Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to work the Floral Bobble Assigned Pooling stitch, which can be found in my new shawl pattern, Audacious. I have it right here behind me on my dress form dottie. And this is a shawl pattern that comes in both a large and a small size. And for the small size, you'll need just 2 skeins of yarn, 1 main color, 1 contrast color. And for the large size, you'll need 4 skeins. So 2 skeins of your main color and 2 skeins of your contrast color. You will only need yarn that has been especially dyed for assigned pooling for your main color. And for your contrast color, you will need a solid or a semi-solid. Okay, so today I want to show you how to work the adorable floral bobbles. Okay, I'll show kind of a close-up of those. So you're going to be working the floral bobbles into both a bark or brioche knit stitch, as well as a burp or a brioche purl stitch. Okay, and in my pattern, I have instructions to work both. So assigned pooling is a technique that was developed by Dawn Barker of Barker Wool, and I collaborated with her on this project, and she is the dyer of the main color yarn that you see here. Okay, so for your main color, you want to make sure that you use a yarn that has been especially dyed for assigned pooling. And assigned pooling is a technique where you have a variegated yarn that has an accent color and a background color. The accent color is where we're going to create the floral bobble. Okay, and your yarn might have a background color that is just all one color, so maybe you have just a 2-color skein. The skein that I used had multiple colors. So for the floral bobbles, the accent color is in the turquoise, and then the background color is a combination of multiple colors. Okay, so you want to determine which is going to be your accent color and which is going to be your background color. And then you might want to just kind of play around with the technique, because depending on the length of your accent color, you might need to increase more stitches or fewer stitches than I call for in the pattern. Okay, like let's say you're working the instructions and you come to the end of your accent color before the bobble has been made, you might need to increase fewer stitches, okay? But the bobbles, the accent color lengths can vary as well. So I'd say just stick with one bobble size, one number of increases, and continue that throughout the pattern. It's totally normal for the accent color to be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. That's totally fine. Don't even worry about that too much, okay? So I'm gonna show you now how to work the floral bobble stitch on the Two-Color Brioche background of the shawl, okay? And with the shawl shaping. So let's go. Okay, before we get started, I want to go over the materials that you'll need, as well as kind of show you a close-up of what you'll be doing today. With the shawl, you start off with very few stitches, okay? So you're gonna start here. This is kind of your cast-on point, and then you're going to be increasing along the left edge of your shawl only. So it's kind of a right triangle shape, okay? So your right edge will have no shawl shaping at all. So you're basically going to be working the shawl pattern as written, and whenever you come to your accent color, so for me it was this turquoise, you're going to create one of the floral bobbles, okay? And whether you're working it into a brioche knit stitch or a brioche purl stitch, it will be worked almost identically, okay? But you do need to work it differently whether you're brioche knitting or brioche purling. So when you're brioche purling, you'll be working it on the contrast side but it will still show up on the main side of the work. Okay, so you can still kind of see it on the contrast side a little bit, but it will show mainly on the main side. Mainly on the main side. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to work just a simple cast on and then what to do whenever you get to your accent color. So let's gather our materials. Okay, so these are actually my leftovers from my project. I had a little bit of leftover yarn, and this is my main color. Okay, so this is the colorway Flowers in the Bath by Barker Wool on their solo single ply. And you can see how interesting it looks when it's wound up in a cake like this. This is what the yarn looks like before I wound it up. Okay, so you can see that here's the accent color. This is the turquoise. That is how Dawn Barker of Barker Wool, that's how she dyed it. And she intended for the turquoise to be the accent color. Now you could choose a different accent color if you wanted to, but the turquoise color is the perfect length for the accent color that I designed this for. Okay, and my contrast color is a solid, semi-solid, dyed by La Bien-Aimée on their merino singles, and the colorway is Audacious, which translated from French means bold. So you can tell that's where I got the idea for this pattern name. So I'm going to be casting on my stitches with my main color yarn. Okay, we're going to use a single color cast on. And for my needles, I have a size US 4 3.5 millimeter circular needles. Okay, and I'm using a 24 inch or a 32 inch long cable. You want to make sure that you're using circular needles for the two-color brioche knitting and also to accommodate a large number of stitches. So I'm going to cast on, and I'm just going to be following the pattern here. And okay, if you're following along with the pattern, it's on page 5. And if you'll notice, when I'm starting off my cast on, I'm actually starting off with my accent color. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm actually going to just go until I don't have my accent color anymore, and I'm going to cast on with the background color. Okay, so we're going to work the twisted German cast on, and we're only going to be casting on 5 stitches, so you don't need a very long tail. Okay, so I'm going to place the yarn over my forefinger and my thumb. I'm going to grab the yarns together with the rest of my fingers, and I'm going to take my needle and press down on the top of the yarn and give it a twist. Okay, this will be my first stitch. If you would like to make a slip knot instead, that's totally fine. I'm going to have my palm facing up. I'm going to go under both with my right hand needle, down through the top, pull that back loop towards me, reach around, grab the yarn with my index finger, and pull it through that window. Drop the yarn with my thumb and pull it tight. Now that first twist, that's the only time that you'll be doing that. The rest of the time you'll just be casting on as normal. Under both, down through the top, reach around, grab the yarn through the window, pull it tight. If you'd like to see a slower video tutorial of me casting on stitches, you can follow the link that I've just shown. I also have the link in the description. Under both, down through the top, reach around. Okay, now I have 4 stitches and 5. Okay, so I have all the cast on stitches are in my background color. Now I can turn my work, and I'm going to work the shawl setup, the setup rows. And I'm not going to show too much of this because the video is mainly focused on how to work the floral bobbles. So I finished set up row CSMC. I'm going to slide my work. And now I'm going to bring in my contrast color. Slip this first stitch, and then we'll work bark 1, YF slip 1 yarn over, bark 1, slip the final stitch with our working yarn in the back. And so then we'll work rows 1 and 2, okay? And I'm still not going to have any accent. So what I like to do when I'm knitting, when I'm working on this assigned pooling, I'll kind of keep an eye out for that turquoise. So definitely try to do the same thing as you're working on your shawl. You know, I did have this as my TV knitting for a little bit, but I did have to pay attention. So I'm going to work row 1, and this is an increase row. So what we're going to do is we're going to work a BR 4 stitch increase into the center brioche stitch. So bark, yarn over bark, yarn over bark. Okay, so I have 4 increased stitches. YF slip 1 yarn over, knit 1. Then we'll slide our work back. And this is an increase for the shawl shaping. Okay, so you definitely want to work this increase as a traditional brioche increase, okay? And that's how you want all of the shawl shaping increases to be. So this is the only time you're going to work the BR 4 stitch increase. All of the other shawl shaping increases will be the bark yarn over bark. So I'm going to work slip 1, YOF, purl 1, slip 1, YOF, purl 1, slip 1, YOF, and then I've come to a brioche stitch, and I'll burp that. Then I'll slip the last stitch with my working yarn in the front. So now we'll turn. So right, both yarns are at the same side. So I'm going to work the row 2. This is just even brioche, except until you get to the accent color. So let's say you're just working the shawl pattern and you come to your accent color when you're going to work an increase for the shawl shaping, or maybe you come to the accent color when you are working an edge stitch. Well, that's totally fine. Just continue in the shawl, the pattern as it's written. And then once you come to a brioche purl or a brioche knit stitch, then you'll work the floral bobble into that stitch. Okay, so yeah, don't worry too much if you get to the accent color. Every shawl is going to look totally different, and because every skein of yarn is totally different. The birds are very happy today. Okay, so we still have a little ways until we get to our accent color. And a lot of times, like you can see with my accent color, I have sort of this like kind of darker green where the dark dye kind of married with the turquoise dye. So depending on the length of the accent color, I will most likely start working my floral bobble stitch when this color happens. Okay, so if that happens to you, if there's like kind of a merging between the two colors, there's never going to be like a stark line. That's totally fine to do that. The colors, it might be, like a lighter version of the color or a darker version. Okay, so now I'm going to work row 3. And rows 3 and 4 are going to be your stitch pattern repeat that you're going to repeat for the rest of the shawl, okay, until you get to the accent color. So I'm just going to continue working until I get to the accent color, and I'll show you what to do for the brioche knit stitch and the brioche purl stitch. So I've come to the last 3 stitches. I'm going to work the bark, yarn over bark. So that's for my shawl shaping, okay? So similar to the BR 4-stitch increase, you want to work that as a traditional brioche increase. So when you come back to it with your contrast color yarn, you actually do want those stitches to increase, unlike with the floral bobbles. Okay, so I'm just going to continue working in pattern until I come to my accent color. Okay, I worked a little bit off screen, so you can see I worked a few more rows with my shawl shaping increases here at the left. And wouldn't you know it, look, my accent color is really close to the edge. So I want to show you an example of where in my shawl that I actually did what I was talking about. So here you can see, this is my selvage right here. And you can see that one of the stitches is in my accent color, and it happened here as well. So, you know, and in here as well. So it's totally natural and normal for that to happen, as well as, you know, maybe the accent color was a little bit longer this time and it shows up here on my just regular brioche stitches. So, you know, when I was first starting this design, that was actually really bothering me. I was really trying to think, oh, do I need to make my increases more? But, you know, I just decided it's totally fine. You know, with naturally dyed yarns, that is just what's going to happen. You know, with hand-dyed yarns and artisan-dyed yarns, every skein is different. So don't worry too much about that. Just concentrate more on, when you come to your accent color, working a consistent bobble increase. Okay, so I'm going to work, so I'm on row 3, so I'm going to work this floral bobble into a brioche knit stitch, and I'm going to start it into this brioche knit stitch. Okay, so I worked my YF slip 1 yarn over. There's going to be a little bit of that accent color in the yarn over, and that's totally fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a 12 stitch increase. So I'm going to go from 1 stitch to 13 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to go bark, yarn over bark, and we're going to do that 6 times. And if you need to stop and count your stitches, that's fine. I had to do that a lot, 2, 4, 6, and so I need to do this. And that's 8, 10, and then 12. Okay, and now you can take your stitch off the needles, and now you're going to have 13 new stitches coming, basically blooming out of this 1 stitch. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to slip 3 stitches purlwise back to our left hand needle. We're going to knit those 3 together. Slip that stitch back. Okay, so we're all done with that increase. We're going to do that again. Slip 3 stitches, knit those 3 together, slip that stitch back, slip 3 stitches. Okay, so we're basically ignoring those first 2. Knit those 3 together, slip that stitch back, and now we have 4 stitches left in the accent color. We're going to slip those 4. If you can slip more than 1 at a time, that's totally fine. Okay, so we have these 4 stitches here. I'm going to knit those 4 together. This can be where it gets a little bit tricky. You might need to kind of stretch out those increases a little bit. So knit 4 together. Place the stitch on your left hand needle, and this is where I'll kind of go in and I'll stretch these out. And then you're going to knit these 4 together. This is, yeah, this is where it can be a little bit tricky, but just go slow. Okay, and my bobble is done. Okay, and you can see I do have a little bit of accent color left, so I maybe could have, if I wanted to, I could do that one over again and work to maybe that stitch and work the bobble. It's totally up to you. If it were me, I might just do that, but I'm going to keep going because you get the idea, right? So you're just increasing a bunch of stitches and then decreasing them back down, and that's what is creating that bobble. So then you'll just, when you're done with that, you'll have 1 stitch left on your needle in the accent color, and you'll keep going in pattern. So even though there's a little bit of accent color left, that's totally fine. I'm just going to continue working in the Two-Color Brioche pattern. When I get to this, I'm going to work my shawl shaping increase. Okay, and that's how you work the floral bobble into a brioche knit stitch. And I will continue working in this pattern until I come to a brioche purl stitch so I can show you how to work it there. So I'll meet you back. Okay, real quick, I wanted to show what to do with your contrast color, okay? So when you work the next row with your contrast color, you're just going to work this as a slip-one YOF. Okay, so just continue in even brioche. When you come to that stitch, you'll just work it like a slip-one YOF. Okay? Okay. Luckily, the next accent color I came to was on a contrast side row. Okay, so I'm working the row 4 CSMC, and wouldn't you know it, the assigned pooling stitch is going to be in the same column as my previous one. That will happen a lot. Actually, you'll find that sometimes they want to stack on top of each other. You know, like right here, they wanted to all be by each other, and that just happens sometimes. And that's kind of the beauty of this and kind of the fun, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to work my slip-one YOF. You can tell that I have a little bit of the color going on here, but I'm going to wait till there's more of the pure accent color. So I've worked my slip-one YOF, and I'm going to work the floral bobble into this brioche purl stitch. So you can tell it's a brioche purl stitch on the contrast side, but you want it to look like a brioche knit stitch on the main side, and you want the bobble to be on the main side. So we're going to work the same thing, the same increase that we worked for the floral bobble into a brioche knit stitch, but we're going to work it into a brioche purl stitch this time. So we're going to work a brioche purl increase. We're going to work burp 1, yarn over, right? We're leaving that stitch on the left-hand needle, and we're going to work that 6 times. Burp 1, yarn over, burp 1, yarn over, burp. So that's 2, 4, yarn over, burp, 6, 8, 10, one more, makes 12. And again, if you need to stop and count, you'll take your stitch off your left-hand needle. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 new stitches blooming out of 1 stitch. Okay, and we're going to work similarly to the bark stitch, except we're going to slip 3 stitches over purlwise to our left-hand needle, purl 3 together, slip that stitch back. We'll repeat that again. Slip 3 over, purl 3 together, slip that stitch back. One more time, slip 3 stitches over, purl 3 together, slip that stitch back, and now we'll have 4 stitches, slip 4 over purlwise, and purl 4 together, slip 1 stitch over. So now we have 4 stitches in our accent color, and we're going to purl those 4 together. And now I've come to the end of my accent color. So you can see now it looks just like the floral bobble that we made on the bark stitch, except we did it on the burp stitch. And now we'll continue in pattern. Okay, and slide back, you'll do the same thing. You'll work that single stitch here as a slip 1 YOF or a YF slip 1 yarn over with your contrast color. Okay, so you can see they look identical on the main side. So whether you've worked it into a brioche purl or a brioche knit, it's going to look the same. And if you find that, it wants to stay on the contrast side, you can just push it forward with your finger. And this will also help when you block it. Okay, so that's how you work the floral bobbles in my new Audacious shawl pattern. And feel free to email me anytime for pattern support or if you have any questions. And I sincerely hope that you enjoy my pattern and you enjoy working assigned pooling with Two-Color Brioche. For more assigned pooling patterns, be sure to check out Dawn Barker's website, barkerwool.com, as well as her Ravelry shop as Dawn Barker. She has some amazing patterns that she's developed with this concept, and I highly recommend them. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.